All right, so you can see that this keeps getting updated as the videos upload. I work on setting the structure of the course up. So now we're going to get into quiz structure settings. And here's the example quiz that we've been working on. So down here, originally we set up the quiz, then we set up categories. And you'll notice when you click on the quiz, if a student clicks on this, there isn't anything on the quiz. So they can't take it. So now you've set the quiz up, you've got the questions together. Now you want to edit the quiz itself. When there's no questions, it's really easy to edit quiz buttons right here. Once there's already questions on the quiz, if you want to go in and edit it, you just click this cog up here and you click Edit Quiz. All right, so now here is where we get to choose things like how much is the quiz worth. So Moodle's going to automatically scale everything. So if you say that this is worth 5 points, and there's only going to be one question on the quiz because that's all we've written so far, even though that question has a weight of 1, it's going to be out of 5 in the gradebook. Now this gets a little bit hairy when I made everything out of 10 unless it was a unit summative assessment. So all my practice quizzes along the way, everything's out of 10. It didn't matter if there was 3 questions or 25 questions. It scaled it for me in the gradebook. Now, if you have questions on there, and those questions have different relative weights. So if one has a weight of 1 and one has a weight of 5, and it's out of 10 points, it's going to scale those points proportionally. So you might get half the questions right, but because one of them has a weight 5 times the other one, you're only going to get a 2 out of 10 in that case. So it'd actually be less than that because there'd be 6 points possible, and you would have gotten 1 out of 6 scaled to 10. So it'd be 1.6 out of 10. Anyway, some people get confused on that when they say, well, it's out of 10. How am I getting a 3.41 in the gradebook? Well, it's because it's using the relative weights of each question. So now what you do is you add a question. Now, I said before, you can write questions from different screens. Oh, not there, sorry. When you add a question, you can click Write a New Question. And when you do this, it takes you automatically to the screen where the question is going to be written. Now, just like I said before, there were folders for the course, folders for the parent course. There's also folders for the quiz. So if you write them from this screen, the questions themselves get put into a folder that's specific to this quiz. I thought, personally, I would rather have my question bank set up correctly and then pull from that to put on the quiz, rather than have question banks unique to the quiz itself. But again, that's your choice. So here you can pull a question from the question bank. And if I go in here, this is where my structure that I set up before is now available to me. So I can say, all right, in this case, I would like a question from this category. Now, notice how you can also show from subcategories. So I could say here, I would like to add this question. Go ahead and add it. Now I can also say I would like to add a random question, and I would like to add it from, I don't have to use the specific category. Now, the reason you set up your specific category is so that things were equitable, so you don't want to go too far on this. But let's say in subtraction, you only wrote level 1 questions. So you could say, or you could say in unit 1, maybe you have 1.1, 1.2, 1.3, 1.4, 1.5. You could say just pull 5 random questions from all of these 5, subcategories here, and you do it up here by including the parent category. So you're going to include questions from subcategories. Now you'll be able to add a random question. The nice part is you can add more than one. Now you're probably going to add 100, but if in this category right here, let's say you want to ask 5 questions that are level 1, I would probably write 10 questions. Then I would click here and I would say add 5 randomly. Now everybody's going to get a different assortment of questions. And to add another wrinkle to that, if you later, in some of the specific question examples, if you look at calculated questions, you can write a question that regenerates numbers every time you write it. So now you're going to pull random questions, every participant's going to get a unique version, and the question and the numbers are going to regenerate every time you do it. Again, it's specific probably more to math and science, but that's how I got around well, how can people just cheat on this, or can they talk about it at lunch? Absolutely, they can talk about it at lunch. I want them to. I want them to figure this stuff out. Ideally, though, they're not talking about the answers. They're talking about the process. They're talking about, okay, so was this on there? Well, it was on mine. I don't know if it's going to be on yours. But we try to keep things equitable, so we're not, just pulling randomly from a parent category here. So that's how you add a random question. That's how you add a specific question. And that's how you write a question for a quiz. So, once you populate 15 or 20 questions within a category, now you can start saying, I want 3 questions from this. I want this specific question. The nice thing is, if, like in this example, I told it a specific question. If I also told it to grab 2 random questions out of this category, it's not going to grab the question that you put on here that's already on here. So questions aren't going to see multiple, they're not going to be seen on the same quiz multiple times. So if I did this, and then I went and added a random question, and I added 1 random question, well, there's only 1 question here. So they'll see this question, then they'll see it again because there's no other questions that can be there. I usually throw shuffling on. You can move things around. You can also, so earlier we said a new page per question. Well, let's say I've got 2 questions that really go together, and it would be nice to put those 2 on the same page. You probably want to do it with random, but you can just click this, and now these are both going to be found on the same page. In this case, this one's going to be random, so you don't know that. But if you selected 2 specific questions, you wanted them on the same page, you'd click that. And then you can also move them around, and pretty easy. That's how you set up the quiz. That's how you set up your back-end categories. That's how you put questions on the quiz for getting questions to students.